I've had the Fujifilm X-S20 for about a month now. I've had a chance to use it in a range of different situations, mostly for just personal stuff so far. I haven't actually put it through any sort of professional work so far, but I've used it mainly just for my own personal stuff, some photos, some videos, etc, etc. So if I had a chance to sort of get a feel for it, this isn't a review, this is purely just a first thoughts, my first sort of my experience with the camera in the first sort of few weeks of ownership, and sort of just to give you an idea of what I think of it, coming from an X-T4, whether or not I think it's a reasonable replacement for the X-T4. Was that a right decision? So stay tuned for the rest of the video and I'll let you know what I think. So I bought the X-S20 for a couple of reasons. Well, I suppose the first and foremost thing is I, like a lot of you, suffer from gear acquisition syndrome, and I saw a new shiny camera and I wanted it. I felt the same when the X-H2S came out, but I just didn't have the budget to be able to splash £2.5 grand on a camera that I didn't really need, and at the time the X-T4 was kind of delivering everything I wanted. Then the X-S20 started to get rumoured, and I thought, you know, this is going to be potentially quite an interesting camera because it sounds like it's going to be like an X-T4 kind of plus in terms of video specs, but in a slightly different body. And then they launched it, and it was a little bit more expensive than we were expecting because it was £250 more than the XS10 that it replaced, but it's still at £1,250. It was a very, very good value camera. So I kind of went for it for sort of three main reasons really. So like say the gas, the cheap price, but also the fact that it was going to take what I already liked from the X-T4 from a video point of view and just take it to another level. That 6.2K open gate, the increased sort of color depth for color grading, etc., and that improved autofocus and faster processor from the X-H2S. All of that combined together is why I went for the X-S20 rather than either sticking with the X-T4 or trying to save up a bit more money and go for the X-H2S. So when it comes to photo quality, it's going to be a very short section, this one. Fundamentally, picture quality wise, I can't see any difference between the X-T3, X-T4, X-E4, all cameras that I've owned, and the X-S20. It's the same sensor, the picture quality is exactly the same, which means it's really, really lovely, great colours, great sort of dynamic range, just that typical sort of Fujifilm tonality that you get. I've also been sort of playing around more so with the X-S20 than I did for a while with the film simulations, and been shooting a lot more JPEG stuff. I like photo editing, but because I've been doing a lot more sort of personal stuff lately, where we've just been going out and about and just taking photographs of days out and things like that, I don't necessarily want to get back and sit for hours in front of the computer sort of tweaking and editing. I just really like having something nice out of camera, and I've found a particular sort of film simulation I really like, which I loaded into the X-S20 recently, and I went and shot a load of photographs at a local hall called Holcombe Hall, and the photographs came out really nice. I love the colours, just, you know, it is, if you've used an X-T3 or an X-T4 or an X-E4 or an X Pro 3, you know, anything, or the XS10 before, you know, anything that's got that 26 megapixel sensor, you're going to know exactly what you're in for with the X-S20. The only benefit you'll see is that there is a slight improvement in the autofocus and the tracking, and just if you're doing any sort of subject tracking, then you're going to notice an improvement from a photography point of view that way. But fundamentally, photo quality, it is exactly the same as before. Video quality is where I've seen the most drastic improvement compared to what I had before the X-T4 and the X-T3 that I'm shooting on right now. I've noticed that the overall look is fundamentally the same, especially if you're shooting in 4K. It looks pretty much the same, but that fact that you've got that 6.2K open gate is way better, and the fact that you've got that slightly richer color depth. Someone like me who's not a massive colorist, I can't really notice a huge amount of difference, but in my mind I think I know it's there, so it's nice to have, and it's certainly not going to make things worse for me. So having that extra sort of colour in there is certainly a nice thing. But for me, the main thing really is that 6.2 open gate shooting that just allows a bit more flexibility when, if you want to crop for vertical, or if you want to get a bit more, if you want to get a bit more scope to be able to crop in post, is just that much better. I haven't done as much video stuff as I would like. I am certainly going to do some more coming up. We've had really rubbish weather here in the UK, so it's been difficult to get out and test the camera to the best of its abilities. I'm a bit of a fair weather shooter. When the weather's rubbish outside, I generally tend to hunker down inside. So, I haven't managed to get, a great deal of shooting in, but the little that I have done, what I have managed to get out of the camera has been absolutely superb. Much better than the X-T4 before it. And just for the money, I'm just blown away by how good the quality is. As far as body design is concerned, that's the only thing on the X-S20 that is both a good and a bad thing from my perspective. Coming from the X-T4, it's a bigger body. You've got the top dials, that more traditional sort of Fuji style. It's just a bit chunkier, and it's a bit nicer in the hand in some respects. I used to add the extra sort of grip onto it to give it sort of a bit more girth. And overall, it just felt a bit chunkier. The X-S20 is a bit smaller, but it is lighter. And the actual built-in grip, the standard grip that you get, is just night and day nicer and better. So from that point of view, the ergonomics are much better. Unfortunately, where it lacks for me is customizable buttons. You've got a few dotted around, but just not enough really for me to kind of be able to get what I want from the camera from a customization point of view. So I think long term, I think this might end up being more of a B cam to an XH2S in the future for me, budget allowing. But for now, I'm just going to have to make do with sort of having to go into the menu stuff and having to utilize the Q menu and the My Menu function a lot more, rather than having to be able to sort of like set things to like custom buttons, etc. So you'll notice that there's like no custom buttons here on the front. So your AF button's gone. You've got no custom button here. All in all, and there's a lot less on the back as well. So you've got a lot less options in it to set up. So from my point of view, that's a bit of a pain. I don't miss, certainly for the sort of use that I get out of this particular camera, I don't miss the top dials, and it's a bit of a bone of contention for some people. People think that a Fujifilm camera without the sort of old-fashioned top dials isn't a Fujifilm camera. I like the fact that there are options personally. I think it's great that we have a choice of different styles, they're not all stuck into one particular sort of form factor. I still haven't 100% got used to how all this all operates and setting everything up the way I like it, but I do like having the 4 custom modes because I've set them all for video functions, so I can just switch between the different ones. Because when I'm shooting for photography, I'm very lazy. I generally just put it in aperture priority and just shoot away. So I've used all of the custom functions for that. Overall, I'd say it's a solid body design. It's not a bad design by any means, but there are some things that I would prefer it had. But I also accept that it's a £1,250, prosumer camera. It's not a professional body, so I have to accept that I've bought into a more consumer level camera. I haven't bought a professional body. Other than video, the other big improvement that I've noticed from the X-S20 over and above what I was used to shooting before is the AF performance. I haven't had a chance to do the sort of stereotypical YouTube tests. If I get some time today, I might do the old jump in and out of frame stereotypical YouTube test, and I'll insert that footage now if I've managed to include it. But fundamentally, what I've noticed is that the tracking's just a little bit stickier. the you know, the accuracy of picking up on people and just generally sort of recognizing subjects and things just seems to be that much better. It is a bit lens dependent. The some of the sort of like the 16 to 55 2.8 that I've got with a linear motor works superbly, as does this 13mm Viltrox that I'm shooting on now. But some of the other lenses are a little bit slower, but you know, that's to be expected. But fundamentally, I have definitely seen a step forward. It isn't as good as some of the stuff that I've seen from Sony and Canon, but it's certainly definitely a very, very welcome improvement. I haven't had a chance to use all of the different subject tracking modes, but I have used the bird mode, and it was surprisingly good. I was able to actually like focus on birds quite far away, and it was picking them up despite the fact that there was not a great deal of detail and there was not a great deal of contrast. So quite impressive overall from that point of view. So I expect the other subject modes are going to be sort of equally as impressive. I haven't used the vlog mode that's built into this yet. I'm going to try that out at a later date, and I'm going to do a whole separate video on vlogging with the XS20. So that will come at some point in the future. But overall, yeah, AF performance, definitely a marked improvement. If you're an X-T3 or an X-T4 shooter, you're certainly going to notice a huge improvement. So in conclusion, if you're looking for a new Fuji camera and you want to shoot a bit more video, should you be looking for the XS20? 100% yes. If you haven't got the budget to stretch to the XH2S, then I think the XS20 is certainly the next best video camera in the Fuji lineup. It is just a really, really good little camera for the money. If you are a photographer, if you are photo first, then either spend a little bit more probably on the X-T5 and get the extra resolution, or stick to the X-T3, or even if you know the XS10 or something like that, save a little bit of money, because the XS20 isn't really going to give you that much of a jump forward from a photography point of view. But fundamentally, that's not why I bought it. My X-T3 is now going to be my more sort of photo first camera anyway. And then the XS20 is going to be more video / travel. So that's kind of where it sort of sits in my lineup. Unfortunately, I had to sacrifice my beloved X-E4 and traded it in against the XS20. I don't think as a travel camera or a city sort of like street camera, the XS20 has quite got the magic that the X-E4 had for me. So if you're an X-E4 shooter and you're not shooting video, then I definitely would keep your X-E4, because it is such a lovely little camera and I miss it dearly, and I'm probably going to have to get another one at some point. But other than that, XS20, superb package, really packs a punch for the price. And I think if you're even sort of an amateur sort of video person, or you want to, certainly from if you want to do vlogging and various other things like that, and you're intrigued by the Fuji system, then you know it's a winner. Absolutely can't go wrong. But anyway, I hope that's given you a little bit of an insight into what I think of the XS20, having had it for a month now. There will be plenty more videos on the XS20 coming in the future as I use it more and try and sort of get more for it, get more from it. So stay tuned to the channel and subscribe for plenty more videos coming soon. Bye bye.